Hey guys, in this video we'll be going through completing the square. So essentially we'll be going through how to do the basic completing the square, and then in the next section I'll show you how to do the more advanced completing the square. So that's when you have a number in front of x squared. And then what we'll do is we'll go through the turning points, which involves using the completing the square method in how you find the answer for that. So essentially it's the whole completing the square in this video, and hopefully you guys will take some value from it and be able to understand it. Any other topics you would like me to do, just put it down in the comments. And as always, if this video has given you value, just small thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. So let's get straight to this. So completing the square is one of the methods that you can use to solve a quadratic. Okay, so you have three methods essentially. One is quadratic formula, one is factorizing, and then one is completing the square. So if you don't know quadratic formula, completing the square, factorizing, I'll put those video links in the link description below, so you guys can check those out. So completing the square is just one method, and it's a very easy method essentially. So if we look at the first one, we have x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals 0, right? So I'm just going to rewrite that again, and I'm going to show you the method of how we complete the square. So x squared essentially is going to become x. So this is the method, by the way, yeah? This is how we're going to do it. So x squared becomes x. I'm going to halve 4. Half of 4 is 2, okay? And I'm going to put all of this squared, and I'm going to do plus 1, carry the plus 1, and then minus the square of 2. So 2 squared is 4 equals 0. So I'm just going to repeat that again because I'm sure some of you guys did not understand that. So the way you're going to do completing the square is x squared becomes x. I halve 4, which is 2. And all of this, I'm going to square it, which is what I've done here. I'm going to carry the plus 1 down. And then I'm going to do 2 squared, which is 4. But it's always minus. It's not minus because there's a minus here. If this was a plus 2, this will still be minus 4. Just so you guys know, right? So this is the method, essentially. And then we're going to solve for x. So x minus 2, whole thing squared. 1 minus 4 is minus 3 equals to 0. But remember, because you're trying to find x by itself, you're going to make x has to be on the left hand side. So move the minus 3 to the other side, becomes positive 3. And then how I get rid of the square, I square root it. So I'm going to do plus and minus square root 3. Remember, when you square root, you get two answers. So that means x is equals to move minus 2 to the other side. So it's minus 2 plus and minus square root 3. So your two answers you're going to have is 2 plus square root 3. And then the other one is 2 minus square root 3. So you can put that in your calculator and it will give you an answer. And that's it. So just this is essentially it. This is how you complete the square. So you just got to remember the step here, right? X squared becomes x. I halve 4, which is 2. And then I square all of this, carry the plus 1, and then square the 2, which is minus 4. And then you just solve it as normal. Now, so make some notes on this. If you're not sure, pause the video, make some notes. And then if we look at the second one, now if I ask you what's the difference between the second question, this one right here, and then the first one, what do you think that would be? Pause the video first if you need to think about it. So if you look closely, the second one, right, is if you look at the x, it's not an even number. It's a right, whereas in this one it's an even number, so it was divisible by 2. This time it's not. So there is a way of doing this. And essentially, this is what we're going to do. So it's exactly the same. So we're going to just rewrite this x squared minus 7x plus 4 equals 0. So I'm going to complete the square as normal. So x squared becomes x. Now I'm going to halve 7. If you halve 7, what do you normally do? You divide it by 2, right? So we can just say this as 7 over 2. And then we're going to put whole thing squared. So if we halve 7, 7 over 2, you don't need to put a decimal yet as a decimal. And then carry the plus 4. And then minus, now you need to square 7 over 2. So all I'm doing is I'm going to do 7 over 2 squared. Now again, for this, you don't really need a calculator because it's quite simple. If you do 7 squared, what's that? 49. And then 2 squared, which is 4. So that's how you do 7 over 2 squared. You just square the 7 and square the 2, right? Equals to 0. So now we'll have x minus 7 over 2 whole thing squared. If you want, you can use a calculator for this. I'm just going to work this out here. So that's 416. So 1649. So that's minus 33 over 4 equals to 0. So you can put this in your calculator as a fraction and you can work it out if you can't do this. Now we do the same thing as we did before. Find x. So x minus 7 over 2 squared stays the same. Move minus 33 over 4 to the other side, becomes 33 over 4. Get rid of the square. So if we get rid of the square, that would be plus or minus square root 33 over 4. The final step is move the minus 7 over 2 to the other side, becomes plus 7 over 2, plus or minus square root 33 over 4. So your two answers that you're going to have is 7 over 2 plus square root 33 over 4. That's one answer. And again, just put that in the calculator, it will give you the answer. And then the other one is 7 over 2 minus square root 33 over 4. And that's the other answer. So if you look at this, it's this exact same thing. The only thing that changes is we have fractions now compared to whole numbers. That's it. Everything else stays the same. So that's literally it. That's really how you complete the square for this section, really. So make some notes if you haven't. Pause it a bit, or replay the video again if you need to go through those explanations again. And what I'm going to do now is give you a couple of questions for you to try and do. Okay, so here's the questions. Have a go and then play the video again to see the work solutions. Right, so for the first one, when you complete the square, you're going to say x minus half of 2, which is 1, whole thing squared. And then you're going to do minus 15, so carry the minus 15 down, and then square the 1, which is minus 1 equals 0. Remember, you have to put minus, right? So if you do x minus 1 squared, minus 15 minus 1 is minus 16 equals 0. So x minus 1 squared, bring the 16 or minus 16 to the right side, becomes positive 16. Get rid of the square, plus and minus square root 16. And x is equals to, move the minus 1 to the right side, 1 plus and minus square root 16. Now you know square root 16 is 4, right? So you can say 1 plus and minus 4. So that means you have 1 plus 4 as your answer, which is 5. And then the other one is 1 minus 4, which is minus 3. So those should be your answers. Now for the next one, what we're going to do x squared becomes x, half of 9, which is 9 over 2. Whole thing squared, carry the minus 12 down, minus the square of 9 over 2, which is 81 over 4. Remember, you square 9 and then you square 2, right? So that means that's going to be x minus 9 over 2 squared. And then minus, if you put that in your calculator, what would that be? 81 over 4. So that would be minus 129 over 4 equals to 0. So that means you're going to have x minus 9 over 2 squared. Move the 129 over 4 to the other side, becomes positive. Get rid of the square again. So that's going to be plus and minus square root 129 over 4. And then x is equals to 9 over 2 plus and minus square root 129 over 4. And then you have two answers, right? X is equals to 9 over 2 plus square root 129 over 4. So that should give you the answer. And then the other one is x equals 9 over 2 minus square root 129 over 4. And that should give you the other answer. Okay, so if you got that, well done. If not, just check where you went wrong. If you still don't understand, put it down in the comments and I'll help you guys out. So what we'll do now is the next completing the square, which is the more advanced side of things, advanced of it. And yeah, check it out. Okay, so in this one, if you can see, we have a number in front of x squared, right? So when we complete the square when there's a number in front of x squared, you just need to do one more step essentially. And essentially what you're going to do, so if I was to rewrite this again, 2x squared minus 10x plus 3 is equals to 0, divide everything by 2. So divide everything by 2 first. So that's going to be x squared minus 10 divided by 2 plus 3 divided by 2. We can write it like this, right? Equals to 0. So now move the 2 to the other side. So you have x squared. So 10 over, that should be x, by the way, my bad. 10 over 2, that's going to be 5. So we can write that as 5x plus 3 over 2. Now this 2, when you move it to the other side, it's going to become divide. So you're going to do 0 divided by 2. So 0 divided by 2 is essentially 0, right? So that's going to stay as 0. So that's how you get rid of the 2. Now we complete the square. So x squared becomes x, half of 5, 5 over 2, we keep as a fraction, whole thing squared, plus 3 over 2, minus, always minus the square of 5 over 2, which is 25 over 4 equals 0, right? Because you're doing 5 squared and then 2 squared. So now we have x minus 5 over 2 squared. Now if you put that in your calculator, 3 over 2 minus 25 over 4, that should give you minus 19 over 4, right? Equals 0. You can see now everything is back to the same, right, as what we did before. It's very similar. So minus 5 over 2, whole thing squared, and then move that to the other side, 19 over 4. Now we get rid of the square, so that's going to be plus and minus square root 19 over 4. And then we do x is equals to, move the minus 5 over 2 to the other side, becomes 5 over 2 plus and minus square root 19 over 4. So your two answers that you'll get is 5 over 2 plus square root 19 over 4. And then put that in your calculator, you'll get an answer. And then the other one is 5 over 2 minus square root 19 over 4. Put that and you'll get an answer. That's how you do the advanced completing the square. So essentially what it is whatever number that you have in front of x squared, divided by that number. So here we have 2, we divide everything by 2, and then we do completing the square as we normally would. and then that's it. So take note of this. What I'll do is I'll give you a question to try out, see for yourself, and have a go. Okay, so here's a question. Try and have a go at this, and then once you've done it, play the video back again and to see the work solution. Okay, so what we're gonna do straight away is divide everything by 9, right? So we're gonna say 9 bracket x squared minus 13 divided by 9x, because remember we're dividing by 9, minus 21 divided by 9 equals to 0, right? So now we can rewrite this as x squared minus 13 over 9x. We can divide 21 and 9 by 3, so that's going to be 7 over 3 equals to, move the 9 to the other side, so you're going to do 0 divided by 9, right? So that means x squared minus 13 over 9x minus 7 over 3 equals to 0, okay? So now we complete the square, so we say x squared becomes x minus half of 13 over 9. Remember, we times 9 by 2, so that's going to be 13 over 18. And then we do the whole thing squared, carry the minus 7 over 3 down, minus 13 over 18 squared. So we do 13 squared, which is 169, over, if we do 18 squared, which is 324, equals to 0, right? So now we have x minus 13 over 18 squared. Now, if you put that in your calculator, what would that be? 7 over this. This is definitely going to be a big number. 169 over 324. Yeah, is it 7 over 3? Okay, so then that's going to be minus 925 over 324 equals to 0. That's fine. Okay, so now move the 925 over 324 to the other side. So we have minus 13 over 18 squared equals to 925 over 324. Don't worry too much about the big numbers, yeah? The method stays the same. So as long as you understand the method, the numbers is just nothing. Now we square root it, so plus and minus, square root 925 over 324. So that means you have x is equals to 13 over 18, plus and minus square root 925 over 324. So you have two answers, 13 over 18 plus square root 925 over 324. And then put that in your calculator, you get the answer. And then the other one is x equals 13 over 18 minus square root 925 over 324. And that will be your answer. That's pretty much it. That's how you complete the square from the basic to this more advanced one. So if you've understood it, that's pretty much the topic there. Now, I've just realized that the video is quite long. So what I'm going to do is I'll do turning points on the next video, just because I don't want to make the video way too long. So I'll do that on the next one. And then this one would just be literally just on the hook or completing the square. Okay. So if this video has helped you out, please give this video a big thumbs up. Any other things that you have questions or doubts, put it down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.